Hey guys, welcome back to Vinceville Custom. So today we're going to do a garage kit review on this Thundra, which I was told is a 1/4 scale kit, but it feels more like a 1/3. But supposedly Thundra is supposed to tower over 1/4 scale characters. I don't know. I'm painting it up, but kind of go over it. Now I don't know who sculpted it. I forgot who sculpted it, but the person I'm doing it for, which I've done a lot of other work for him in the past, he could come into the description and write who sculpted it and everything. But it did. I did get a letter, but I won't read the letter out. But it seems that Nick's 3D Dimension, that's his information. He's the one who printed this out, so we'll give him a shout out to it. Did a good job with printing. I mean, I think it's a really nice print up. It's a big statue. Now, we will not be filling it in with resin, though, because that's going to really skyrocket the price. So the person I'm doing it for is okay with me just filling it in with foam. And as long as it's put together nicely and everything, it should work. So we'll kind of go over it. As you can see, she's big. I mean, if you put her next to a Sideshow 1/4 scale like X-Men or DC character, she towers over the character. But like I said, she's supposed to be a taller character than a lot of the other stuff, so she's large. I don't know if maybe she was scaled a little too big. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not used to really getting characters this big and people saying it's a 1/4 scale, but we'll kind of go over it. I got to be a little bit careful with her chain. I guess this is the chain to her weapon that goes on her wrist, so I'm going to kind of put this aside so I don't snap it. I wanted just to get it out of the box. So let's go over her real quick. Pretty straightforward, nice sculpt, good head sculpt, good anatomy. Definitely got a nice good little booty shot for you guys there. So that was done correctly, which is always good. She's got like that twisting pose. Can't really get into the camera too much. So she's hollow. The main body's hollow. So the reason why I'm kind of doing the review now about this is I'm getting closer to, we're kind of like starting fall and all the leaves are coming down. And whenever I do kits like these before the winter, what I try to do is see if I can get a lot of the prep work done where I need that warmer weather before it kind of gets too cold. And also, with the leaves coming down, the garage is like a friggin' mess. Even though I have one of those screen things that come down, I want to try to get all my dirty stuff and sanding and prep work sort of done now, destroy the garage a little bit more, and then just after all the leaves are done, I could do a nice garage cleaning before the winter and have a clean garage throughout the winter. So that's kind of why I'm popping this out now, because what I want to do is I want to be able to spray this up with foam and get all this body parts ready and stuff and go from there. Especially too with, so this is her feet, but these are solid. So these are actually solid resin. And I think her hands are in here, but I'm not going to pop any of this stuff out right now. So since her legs are sort of solid, right, what I'm thinking of doing is, yeah, actually I don't need to really even Dremel a rod through it. What I need to do is just put a good rod in here and in here. And then I think everything should line up with the keys. We'll see. I don't know. But I mean, it's a good sculpt and it's a good print. I'm not really seeing any problems with like any any mess ups of the printing. Everything looks pretty clean, and she's a pretty straightforward character. You know, skin, red outfit, and then the gold or yellow lightning bolt stuff on her. I think the only issue that I can see, get the glasses on, is probably just seaming up the waist around here a little bit. I think that's kind of like the only kind of like gap that I would see as an issue. But normally I paint everything in like one shot. So this, instead of like painting this up and then trying to glue it at the end, I like to have everything seen perfectly as best as I can. So we'll kind of do that. Head sculpt is pretty good. Pretty straightforward. Let's see how she looks with the hair. Like I said, I didn't really go too crazy with all this. But let's see how... Am I putting this on wrong? Let's see, come on. Like I said, I don't remember what the skull. All right, so that goes there. So I think she does have a horn in her front or something that goes here, a crown. I think, if I'm not mistaken. This piece is tight on this head. This is really tight. It's actually a little bit worrisome. How come this is not... Uh-oh. Yeah, see, it's kind of always trying to... stuff. Let's see. That is super, super tight. I'm actually afraid I might snap the front of her hair. So I have a funny feeling I'm going to have to grind out some of the back of this head just to get this hair piece on without breaking it. But the good thing is, this back of this head piece here, we really won't see too much because this hair is going to be kind of hiding it anyway. Okay. Yeah, so this chunk of the hair, or this head, is going to probably have to be grinded out. But that's alright. Yeah, that's kind of like learning as I go, I guess you can say. Alright, so that's something I have to keep in mind. Yeah, so other than that, I guess the other thing too, this is kind of what I usually do whenever I get kits and I gotta kind of like piece everything together. Now the base is a little confusing to me. We'll kind of get over here. So the base is pretty much all solid, but it's cut in 4 pieces. And usually cut in 4 pieces is kind of a nightmare, only because they don't always line up correctly, especially if you don't have a super flat surface. So see how it's not really lining up when you put it together? So like these 2 pieces, you know, it's not. So what's going to happen, sadly, is I think the base is going to cause more work than the actual figure. The feet don't line up perfectly. Alright, so let's see. That is going to be an issue. Only because if we don't... So like as an engineering standpoint, if you were to just put some like Aves or glue there, the problem is if you go to lift up this base, it's going to... See how it kind of like got a little bit of a cracking going on, especially in these directions. So if you ever watched... I don't know if you guys have ever watched like concrete videos. Like I watched a lot of like home building videos and concrete and stuff. So what you have to do with sort of like this is I'm going to have to like Dremel holes and put like you know, rods in there, because this is like what you would have to do for concrete. Like say this is the edge of your house and you're building a concrete like driveway. So if you're connecting concrete to concrete, you Dremel a hole. And then you put those metal rods in there, or fiberglass rods, or whatever they use. And then when you attach them, and then you put eaves or whatever there, and you go to lift it up, it's going to be more secured. So what I'm going to have to do with this one, is I could tell already, is I'm going to have to like grind out these keys a little bit. I'm going to have to grind out holes. And I'm going to have to line everything up to the point where the feet line up to the keyholes. Right? So kind of explaining this. So... say I was lining these up, and then I got it to the point where the feet lined in perfectly, but say there was a gap like this. Say there was a bigger gap between these two, right? Like say there was a gap there, but as long as these feet line up perfectly, I don't mind the gap here, because what I'm going to have to do is I'll have to fill this in with eaves, and then sort of have to rebuild this little area here and try to match up the texture, which is fine. That's not a problem, but the way this base is, it really doesn't make sense to attach these 2 pieces and then have the person put it together, you know? Because what happens is, say you want to move the statue in your case, and it's like, even though it's got a perfect seam, if you pull it apart by accident, you can pretty much snap the legs, you know? So I'm going to make this one solid piece. It'll be shown throughout the video on how I do it, you know, with the metal rods. So this is going to be a lot more work than anything. And I'm actually kind of shocked that these are printed solid. These are all solid. I think actually I think these are actually casted. I don't think they're 3D printed. Yeah, I think these are casted now that I look at it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they could be 3D printed. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So maybe if Nick is watching the video, he can let me know. You can let me know if these were actually 3D printed or casted, but I have a funny feeling they're casted, only because it seems there's like a lot of grinding going on, and this looks like a seam line here, and this looks like a seam line here. But it's a rocky base, so at the end of the day, if I do a little textures, or if I add a little cracking here, and I do a little bit of my own little custom work, and kind of blend it all together, it's not going to make a big difference. It's not going to be like, oh my god, it's not, you know, what it was intended to be. It's going to be hidden, it's a rocky base, it doesn't matter. So that's the only thing I could see wrong with the kit, per se, is just dealing with the base. So this is definitely something I'll be doing in the garage too when I fill this in with foam. It's kind of like dremeling this out, keying this up and everything, getting her legs situated, and then I can put everything together. And then what'll happen too at the bottom, so if we look at the bottom here, this is kind of another thing to think about. So when I put these together, right, say it's shifted a little bit, this is where I would use Bondo. Like I said, I don't like using Bondo because it stinks up the house, but if I do it in the garage, I don't mind using Bondo on something like the bottom here, because you could just kind of spackle Bondo and then sand it down and you're good to go. You know, that's kind of what I use Bondo for. I don't like using Bondo in the statues or in the house because the fumes are just so crazy. But a flat item like this is fine. But the only other thing too is, you see how like the base could be straight, but then it could kind of bend up like this. So that's another thing. I got to use a flat surface when I do this. So I have a flat piece of wood in the garage, and I'll have to work on it like that. Alright, so that's kind of what that's about right now. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a good sculpt. It's going to work out fine. I just got to, like I said, I just got to get a can of foam, fill it in, and then after that, go from there. I mean, I would fill it with freeform air, but still that even jacks up the price. But a nice can of foam with this, it should work out pretty good. And I think, actually, it might even be a little too thin if I was to fill it with resin too. It might be a little bit of a problem. Let me try to see. And like I said, I'm just kind of thinking, and that should be good. A nice good thing of foam. You know, I'll ask my friend and see what he says. If he's okay with foam, we'll fill up foam. But if he wants like freeform air filled in, which is a little bit, it's kind of like, the way I look at it is you have foam from like, you know, Home Depot that you fill in for like your house windows and stuff. And then you have freeform airs, which is kind of the next step. But with the freeform air, you have to mix it up and shove it in. It sort of does expand a bit, but once cured, it's a little bit thicker. Not really, still not that heavy, but it's a little bit thickerness. But then when the next step after that would be like pouring in resin. So I'll see what he says. But all in all, pretty good sculpt. Like I said, I don't know who sculpted it, but I think it's going to be a fun sculpt and paint up. Just bigger than normal. And once done, he's gonna, but hopefully he has room on his shelf for this, because she is going to be one big lady. One big lady. Like that's. Let's just kind of get a size of her real quick before we finish out the video. So she is about 22 inches from the foot to her head. So yeah, I guess most, you know, 1/4 scales are like around 18, 19 inches. So if she's standing next to a regular, yeah, I guess she's pretty close. This should be the taller girl. Okay, so should work out. But there you go, that's Thundra. Just kind of brainstorming now, thinking what I need to do. And hopefully I'll start working on her, and maybe by close to December, end of the year, should be finished up. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more videos.